There's a guy online right now who claims to make $80,000 a day. He posts from private jets. He wears a different Rolex every week. He runs a mentorship program for $2,997. He has over 1 million followers. And he posts 3 times a day about building wealth, escaping the 9 to 5, and never letting the doubters win. And he is, by almost every real financial metric, broke. Not poor, not struggling. Broke, as in, his net worth is negative. He owes more than he owns. The Lamborghini is leased, the jet is rented by the hour from a company that specifically offers content packages for influencers. The Rolex, some of them are replicas, and the mansion in the thumbnail? An Airbnb he booked for the afternoon. $500. Key returned by 6 p.m. Here's the number that should stop you cold. A 2022 study found that nearly 60% of self-described financial influencers had no verifiable credentials and could not substantiate the income claims they made on their own channels. That's not a fringe problem. That's the majority. More than half of the people telling you how to build wealth have no documented evidence that they've actually done it. So how do you tell the difference between someone who actually built something real and someone who's just selling the idea of it? The answer isn't always obvious. The fakes have gotten sophisticated. Even financially literate people get fooled. What follows are the specific tells, the behavioral patterns, the linguistic tricks and financial sleight of hand that separates real wealth from a very expensive, very carefully staged performance. Before getting into the signs, there's one distinction that most people get wrong, and that fake millionaires depend on you getting wrong. Income is money coming in. Wealth is assets minus liabilities. Those two things are not the same. You can earn $500,000 a year and have a negative net worth. Plenty of people do. They finance everything, spend more than they earn, and look extraordinarily successful while quietly sinking. Real wealth is boring to look at from the outside. It compounds in the background. It doesn't need an audience. The fake version is loud. It's designed to be seen. And that's not a bug. It's the entire business model. Because here's what most people miss. For a fake millionaire, the lifestyle isn't the reward. It's the inventory. The cars, the watches, the skyline apartments. Those aren't what they bought with their money. Those are what they use to make money. From you. Keep that in mind. Everything that follows makes a lot more sense once you understand that. The first and most universal tell is this. Fake millionaires talk about how much they make. Real wealthy people talk about what they own. I made $200,000 last month. My business did $3 million in revenue. I closed a $500,000 deal this week. Notice what's never mentioned. Profit, overhead, tax liability, debt service. Because those numbers tell a completely different story. A business doing $3 million in revenue with $2.8 million in costs is making $200,000. That's not bad, but it's also not $3 million. And if the founder is pulling a salary and spending the rest on lifestyle and marketing, what's actually left? Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, net worth is reality. The tell isn't just what they say, it's what they don't say. You will almost never hear a fake millionaire discuss their balance sheet, their liability exposure, their interest payments, or their actual equity position. Because those are the numbers that would collapse the illusion in about 12 seconds. The second sign is what the business actually is. Ask yourself, what does this person actually sell? Not what do they claim to sell, what is the product generating the majority of their revenue? For a startling number of finance influencers, the answer is advice about how to make money. That's it. They made their money by selling people advice on how to make money, which means the only successful application of their strategy is selling that strategy to someone else. That's not a business model, that's a loop. The clearest version of this is the Course to Mastermind pipeline. Step 1. Post aspirational lifestyle content. Step 2. Sell a $297 course promising the blueprint. Step 3. Upsell course buyers into a $5,000 mastermind. Step 4. Tell mastermind members to build their own following and sell their own courses. Step 5. Charge mastermind members a percentage of what they make, or sell them a white label version of your course to resell. This structure has a name in regulatory circles. When the recruitment of others is the primary mechanism of profit, it meets the FTC's definition of a pyramid scheme. And the FTC has been paying attention. In 2023 alone, the Commission took action against multiple online business coaching operations, some of which had been running for years, generating tens of millions of dollars in revenue while delivering essentially nothing to the people who paid for them. One case involved a financial freedom educator who had sold over $30 million in courses and masterminds over 6 years. When regulators audited the outcomes of her students, fewer than 1% had generated any measurable income using her methods. The course wasn't a financial education product, it was a financial transfer from the student's account to hers. Some of the biggest names in the make money online space are currently under investigation or have already settled with regulators, quietly, without a video about it. The settlements rarely make headlines because the terms include non-disclosure agreements, which is itself worth noting. If the product worked, there'd be no need to buy silence. The tell: if someone's income would collapse the moment they stopped posting, they haven't built wealth. They've built an audience-dependent income stream. Those are not the same thing, and the difference matters enormously when you're deciding whether to hand them money.
The third sign is that the lifestyle is rented. This one is specific and documented, so pay close attention. There are now companies that exist solely to rent luxury props for social media content. A Ferrari for the day, around $800. Access to a private jet lounge for a photo, $150 for 30 minutes. A yacht charter for content, $3,000 for 4 hours. A fully staged Malibu mansion for an afternoon shoot, $2,500. For someone selling a $997 course and converting at even 1%, $2,500 in props that generate 100,000 views and a dozen sales is a profitable ad spend. The lifestyle content isn't a reward. It's a customer acquisition strategy with a measurable ROI, and it works. The more sophisticated version, fake millionaires don't just rent things, they cross-promote with each other. One person's event is another person's Instagram moment. They show up at the same rented Airbnb with the same rented cars and photograph each other. It creates an illusion of a verified peer group, which signals social proof, which sells more courses. There was a documented case of 6 online entrepreneurs who collectively rented a Dubai penthouse, photographed each other for 4 days, and used the content to launch separate courses across separate channels. Combined, they made over $2 million in course sales from that trip. None of them lived there. None of them had been there before. The penthouse was booked 4 days out from a short-term rental app. Here's a question worth sitting with. Why would a genuinely wealthy person spend hours every day convincing strangers they're wealthy? Think about the people who've actually built generational wealth without inheriting it. Warren Buffett still lives in the house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. He doesn't post content. Charlie Munger famously said that envy is the only sin that isn't any fun. The people who've actually done it tend to find the performance of wealth embarrassing. Because when you've genuinely built something, you're too busy managing it to document it. The performance of wealth is almost always a substitute for the real thing. That's not a harsh judgment, it's a structural reality. The time and energy required to maintain an aspirational online persona is time and energy not spent compounding real assets. The incentives point in opposite directions. The fourth sign is that the language sounds specific but can't be verified. Real financial success has dates, amounts, mechanisms, and downside risk baked in.
Fake financial success is vague in a very specific way. It sounds precise, but cannot be checked. I built a 7-figure business. Okay, was that $1 million or $9,900,000? What were the margins? What did it cost to run? Did you own it outright, or did investors hold the majority? My portfolio grew 400% last year. Starting from $10,000, that's $40,000 in gains. Starting from $1 million, that's $4 million. These are completely different statements. The percentage is meaningless without the base. I made $50,000 in a weekend. How? Gross or net? Does that include the ad spend that drove the launch? What was the refund rate at 30 days? The tell is in how they respond when you push on specifics. Real operators can walk you through the numbers with granular detail because they actually ran the operation. They remember the mistakes. They can tell you what didn't work. Fakes become defensive, pivot to testimonials, or reference their proven results without showing the mechanism. Sam Bankman-Fried, before he was convicted on 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy in 2023, spoke publicly with what sounded like intellectual rigor. He had specific-sounding frameworks. He was on the covers of major magazines. He was photographed with politicians and celebrities. And he was running what prosecutors described as one of the largest financial frauds in history, moving customer funds through his own trading firm while telling regulators the accounts were completely segregated. Confident specificity is not the same as verified specificity. The confidence is the trick. The 5th sign: they need you to believe, and they need you to believe urgently. Urgency is a manipulation tool. Real opportunities don't require manufactured scarcity. When someone is trying to convince you to invest, enroll, or commit before a deadline closes, stop. Ask why the deadline exists. Usually the answer is simple. The deadline is what creates the sale. Without the pressure, most people wouldn't commit, and without the commitment, the model breaks. Legitimate investment opportunities have prospectuses and legally mandated due diligence periods. Legitimate mentorships don't close enrollment because the knowledge doesn't expire. Legitimate business opportunities don't require a decision in the next 20 minutes. Bernie Madoff didn't use crude countdown timers. He used a more sophisticated version of the same pressure: exclusivity. You couldn't just invest, you had to be invited. You had to know someone. The waiting list was engineered, the scarcity was manufactured, and the result was that people stopped asking hard questions because they were afraid of losing access to something that felt rare. The emotion being manufactured, urgency, FOMO, exclusivity, the fear of being left behind, is almost always the tell. Legitimate wealth building is a long game. It's boring by design. Anyone telling you it's urgent is selling something, and the urgency is the first thing they're selling. Here's where this gets uncomfortable. Most people who get taken by fake millionaires aren't naive. They're not unintelligent. Many are smart, hard-working people who are genuinely desperate for a better outcome, struggling with debt, with wages that haven't kept up, with a system that increasingly feels like it was built for someone else. That frustration is real, and it's legitimate, and that's exactly the opening these people walk through. The pitch is never, "Give me your money." The pitch is, "You deserve better than this, and I know exactly how to get there." That's a completely different emotional proposition. It doesn't bypass your logic, it bypasses your pain, and that's a much harder defense to build. The 6th sign: there's no verifiable history before the fame. Real wealth has a paper trail. Years of doing the thing before anyone was watching. Old posts, business registrations, property records, SEC filings, employees with names, clients who can be called, court records that document disputes and resolutions, history that exists independently of a personal brand. When a self-proclaimed millionaire's financial expertise apparently began the same year their YouTube channel did, that's a significant flag. Run the search. It costs nothing and takes about 20 minutes. Start with their business entity filings. Every state has a publicly searchable database of registered companies. If they claim to run a business, that business has a name, and that name is on file somewhere. Look for their name in property records. If they own the houses they photograph, those transactions are public and time-stamped. You can see exactly when they bought, what they paid, and whether they mortgaged it to the hilt the same week they posted a video about financial freedom. Search their name alongside the words complaint, lawsuit, settlement, and their home state. Add FTC and Attorney General to that search. Check the Better Business Bureau. Check the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's public complaint database, which is searchable by company name. Check PACER, the Federal Court Record System, for any civil or criminal filings. Here's what you're looking for. Does this person's documented history match the story they're selling? A guy claiming he built a real estate empire by 28 should have property records going back to his early 20s. A woman claiming she scaled 3 businesses before launching her coaching brand should have 3 sets of business registration documents somewhere. The paper either exists or it doesn't. Most of the time, with fake millionaires, it doesn't. What you find instead is a personal brand that launched a few years ago, a registered LLC with no operating history, and a trail of complaints from people who paid for something and got nothing. Real wealth creates verifiable history. Performed wealth is surprisingly shallow the moment you go looking. The 7th and final sign is the most psychologically sophisticated. The community is designed to protect them from questions. Fake millionaires build cults, not communities. The difference is directional loyalty. In a real community, members can question the leader without consequence. In a cult, questioning the leader is reframed as a failure of self, a sign that you're not ready, that your mindset is the problem, that you're letting fear win. You can't see clearly because your poverty mindset is blocking you. The people who didn't believe in me are still working jobs they hate. The doubters don't want you to succeed because your success would make them feel worse about their own choices. This framing does something precise. It makes skepticism feel like a character flaw. If you doubt the guru, that's not your rational mind doing its job, that's your limiting belief holding you back. And if you believe that, you stop asking questions, which means the fraud can continue indefinitely, insulated from accountability, until regulators eventually step in, which, increasingly, they do. So here's the singular thing to take from all of this. Every one of these signs has a defense, and that defense is the same, regardless of which sign you're looking at. Ask verifiable questions. Not, how much do you make? That can be answered with a lie. Ask, what is your business entity name and where is it registered? Can you provide an audited financial statement? Can you share references from students who achieved specific, documented results with their permission to be contacted? What is your refund rate? Have you ever been the subject of an FTC complaint or civil litigation? Legitimate operators answer these questions. They may not enjoy them, but they answer them with specifics. Fraud operators deflect, pivot to testimonials, attack your mindset, or disappear. Real wealth is built slowly, in spreadsheets and balance sheets and compounding returns and property equity and boring index funds and businesses that are genuinely unglamorous to photograph. It doesn't perform, it accumulates. And the people building it are usually too busy running the numbers to spend their afternoon in a rented Airbnb mansion explaining to strangers why they're rich. If someone is selling you the dream, urgently, loudly, with a countdown timer and a rented Ferrari, they're not building it, they're monetizing yours. And now you know exactly what to look for.